Hi, my name is Amy, and I am in first grade. I live at home with my mommy and my puppy Bella. I used to love to play with Bella all the time, but lately I've been feeling really tired. When I go to school, I have trouble paying attention, and Mrs. Singh says, "Amy, pay attention," but I can't concentrate. I've been getting really bad headaches too, and sometimes they hurt so much they make my tummy feel bad. Last month, I was in school and I started feeling like my tummy was trying to turn itself inside out. I got so sick. That's when Mommy said, "That's it, I'm taking you to the doctor." I told Dr. Thomas that I hadn't been feeling good for a while. My head hurt and my tummy hurt, and sometimes I had a fever. He had me do a few tests. The first one was a vision test, but I couldn't see right. And then there was a balance test, and I had terrible balance. Dr. Thomas said something might be wrong with my brain, and Mommy was very worried. So Dr. Thomas told my mom that he was going to have to do a few more tests. The first ones were called pituitary function tests. For these, I got pills or shots so Mr. Thomas could see how my body reacts. A part of my brain called the pituitary gland is supposed to make my body send out hormones in response, which they can test for in my blood. But the tests were showing my brain wasn't telling my body to do its job right. Next, Dr. Thomas said we had to do some imaging scans. A nurse took me to a big room with a donut-shaped machine in it. She said it was called an MRI machine, and that I was going to lie still for a while and it would take a picture of my brain. We went back to the doctor's once the picture was developed, and Dr. Thomas said it was bad news. There was a white mass on my brain, and he didn't know for sure what it was. He had to take a biopsy, which meant he had to take a little piece of the mass to figure out what it could be. When the results came back, he said I had a type of tumor called craniopharyngioma. It took me 3 times to say it right. That is a benign brain tumor that develops on the pituitary gland. Benign means it's not cancerous, so the tumor won't spread, but it might still grow, and since it's on my brain, that could be very bad. Mommy was relieved that I didn't have cancer, but she was still very worried about the tumor. "What are our options?" she said. Dr. Thomas told Mommy about a friend of his, Dr. Vasquez. Dr. Vasquez is a pediatric oncologist who would be able to help us figure out what treatment would be best for me. Mommy met with Dr. Vasquez to discuss treatment plans. I listened quietly, but everything they were talking about made me scared. Dr. Vasquez suggested something called conservative surgery, which is surgery where the doctors try to keep as much of my brain safe as they can when removing the tumor. This is different from radical surgery, which is a lot. Dr. Vasquez then told me I was going to have a type of surgery called endoscopic endonasal surgery, where they go through your nose to reach your brain. They don't even have to cut you open. I was nervous at first, but Dr. Vasquez kept saying, "I'm going to take care of you, Amy. Don't you worry." On the day of surgery, the nurse put a tube in my arm called an IV, which had the medications I needed. Then Dr. Vasquez and a person called an anesthesiologist gave me anesthesia so I could sleep through my operation. When I woke up, I was still very tired and everything was kind of blurry. Mommy was right there holding my hand. I blinked a little more, and when I looked around, all my friends from school were there with Mrs. Singh. They had a sign that said, "Feel better." 2 days later, I was allowed to go home, and after a couple of days of rest, I had to go back to the hospital for my radiation therapy. I had to go to radiation once a day, 5 days a week, for 8 weeks. Dr. Vasquez said that even though the surgery had gone really well, they wanted to make sure they got rid of the tumor completely. After about 3 weeks of radiation, I started to lose my hair, but Mommy bought me a really pretty headscarf, which made me feel a little less sad about it. "It will grow back," Mommy assured me. After 8 weeks of radiation, the doctor said my scans were looking good and I was officially done with treatment. And over time, my hair started to grow back and my strength came back too. I could finally play with Bella again the way I used to. I've been feeling a lot better now, but I still have to pay attention in case any of my symptoms come back. But until then, I am happy and healthy and loved.